Nope, nothing special. This is part of a far longer ride I did yesterday, and I don't know when I'm going to publish the video. It could be 3 weeks after I actually did the ride. Um, but it was about 30% of the whole distance. No, 30% of the whole distance is wrong. We're about 20% of the whole distance, but 30% of the time. So the ride was a lot longer, basically. Uh, the battery on the camera is fine. It's probably going to last about an hour most of the time. I filmed it at a lower resolution just because I thought it would last twice as long, but it didn't. So that's okay. I need to find a way to be able to charge the camera while I'm filming. You could say plug it into a power bank. Yeah, that's what I thought it would do. But for some reason it's not charging. Or no, that's not supposed to happen. It's not accepting power from the power bank. It's still taken from the internal battery, which means it's not actually increasing filming time at all. Anyway, this as you saw is played at 400% speed, which explains some of the shaking around. Don't forget I am riding up a pretty steep hill here and in other parts of the ride. Most of this ride that you'll see today is uphill. To be honest, all of it's uphill. There are a couple of slightly level sections, but it's essentially all the way we'll be riding up a hill. This is one of the steepest parts. It's not that steep, it's just a long ride uphill all the way, as opposed to life, which is downhill all the way. But I'll keep going as long as I can. Anyway, this road, not very frequented. I don't know how many people would actually need to use this road to get home. I would say a couple of hundred. So, yes, it's used. But I've been up this road a number of times and very rarely see cars, which is why I'm happy to ride up it. As you know, I'm not very keen on riding where there's traffic. But that bus which just went past, I didn't know there was a bus into this village. I'm pretty surprised actually. Not massively surprised, but I just didn't know. That's why I'm surprised. Not because I've made any judgment about people's public transport needs. But yeah, good. The very top, though, when I say the village, we're actually going to be going through two little sort of settlements. The first one isn't this one. These are just some isolated new houses for rich people. It's not so much a shame. I accept that they're nice and they've not ruined the area, but there was, it's going to be a few minutes away yet, on the right, which you won't see because of new building, there was a really nice sort of farm. And I remember thinking I'd really like to live there. There are a few houses actually that you won't see on this ride, but that I'd like to live in. And when we get to the very top of the ride, that's a village called Sulusai. I would actually really like to live there, and I'm actually, excuse me saying the word actually again, but I'm considering looking to see if there's a house for sale there. Next time I ride there, I might ask some people if there's a house for sale. It would be pretty difficult to leave my flat where I'm sitting right now. And anyway, you can find out. You don't have to buy them. It'd be just interesting for me. A little old Kazakh village with little bungalows. There won't be very many big houses there. One or two, yeah. I don't know, you see, who built the big houses. I don't know whether it's the people who originally owned the little bungalows and upgraded, or whether they sold the land and someone else built. And either of those situations is perfectly reasonable. But I would rather live in one of the little sort of bungalows. So this house you see on the left here, there's nothing wrong with it, of course, but it's not for me. I quite like the old Soviet Union bungalows. You're probably going to see one or two if you look for them. That's not one, by the way. That's a garage. Somebody's shed. But you're coming around the corner now, you might see one or two of them. That you see ahead, that kind of thing there, the one on the right. And the others obviously not bungalows, so I won't insult anyone's intelligence by saying, oh, they're not bungalows. You'll see one or two. I'm not going to point each one out to you, but when you see a little bungalow, then that's the kind of place I do actually think I'd really like to live in. No toilets. You have to dig a hole in the garden and put some kind of a roof and walls around it. And obviously these new houses don't have that problem, if you could call it a problem. It would be in winter, yeah. I stopped at this corner here. You'll see a jump cut, right? I stopped at this corner here, coming up. No, not that corner. The one coming up here. You see the opening there? Stopped to take a few photographs, and I was going to put them in the video, but when I made it, just forgot to copy them onto the media files for the video, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, nice sky and nice trees and very green city. If you go out of the city in Kazakhstan, some of the areas sort of semi-arid steppe and not as green as this, but very green city. One of the greenest cities I would imagine in the world, to be honest. Don't know how many trees there are in Almaty, but I couldn't even guess. Let's say 500,000 maybe. I may be very well out with that, but there are a lot of trees in this city, and we are still actually within city limits here. Or I think so, because I've not gone past any sign that said Almaty, as in you're leaving Almaty, because there are a few signs with Almaty red line through them, like you get in France if you've been to France. Okay, I don't know if this village has a name, or I'm sure it has a name, but I don't know what it is. You come around the corner here, and as you can see, there's a mix of old and new, and it's probably, quite a popular place for people to want to live. Anyway, the fish shop was closed, so I went in this one here, and we're heading up more to a dacha area now. There are not many there, but there are a few dachas, and I decided to cut most of the next 3 miles out, about 3 miles along these back streets here, and dirt tracks and more trees. Well, very soon I'm going to cut that out and jump forward about 3 miles, about now. Okay, about now, coming up anyway. You'll see a big jump cut, and I think I put a transition in there. There we go. So this is nearly the end. It's about 3 miles later. I'm heading up now to the road that goes up to Sulusai, and it's quite a popular climb for cyclists. A lot of cyclists ride up here. It's a long climb, and that's a challenge for cyclists. I did actually break my personal best on 3 parts of this road yesterday. So I got a lot more likes on Strava. I knew I'd done pretty well, but I just know that in the past I've just struggled with it. So I had a good day yesterday. I still wasn't particularly fast. I think King of the Mountains has gone up twice as fast as me. It's to be expected because they are professionals, semi-professionals, a lot of them. Still, it's about like this now for the next 3 miles. I have cut sections of it out again because I want to keep the video short. I don't know. Probably people skip through to anyway, those 3 people who are watching, and I don't blame people who are not. If you are, well, that's fine, thank you. I'm mostly making these videos for myself, as I've said before. It's just that I may as well put them on YouTube, it saves space on my computer, and if 2 people watch, well, okay, that'll be 2 people that get bored, or not, but that's none of my business. So about halfway up now, you can see there are a few walls that have been built now. That's because of landslides or mudslides, and there's an area I think around this corner now. I'm not sure which bits I cut out, but I'm pretty sure there's an area around the corner. Although you can see it now on the side there anyway. There's an area where a large section of the hill has come away, and I don't know what happened to it and don't know when it was, but they can't build much in this area here, because there would be the risk of the property being destroyed. So a lot of this area here, there won't be any development, or I don't think there'll be any development because of the danger, the risk of mudslides. And again, note I'm going up a lot slower than the video seems to be suggesting. It's a 4 times 400% speed here. We're not too far away. And I noticed when I got to about here that both my phone battery and my camera battery were on about sort of 5%. So I speeded up, trying to make sure I could get to the end of the ride. I think my camera battery, that's not so precise. I said 5%, sorry. I didn't, think very much before I said it. My phone battery tells me the percentages. Of course, my camera battery just says some bars. And when the last bar is on, I could be on 20% or 2%, so I wasn't sure. But it did appear to be very close to running out. And when I got to the end of the ride, which you'll see pretty soon, my phone battery said 1%. And okay, I could have plugged that into a power bank, but I just saw it as a little challenge. Okay, get to the top of the hill, and then rest before I ride home. There's a different route. I did want to film it, but sadly I couldn't do anything with battery. The camera battery, I'm afraid I would have needed to wait about 3 hours to fully charge it, and I didn't really have that much time. So it was a two-stage ride. This one, I think round this corner you'll start to see the village, but I didn't really go right into the village to make the video. I just rode to the bus stop, and I didn't like the look of a couple of guys at the bus stop, so I pulled up to the top, just turned things off, saved the ride, made sure everything was clear, then I rode slightly out of the village for lunch. So I mentioned in the previous video I was going to investigate ways of refueling on a ride. Well, I have found a few ways of doing it, that seem to be useful, but not magic, because I get, this was a 5 hour, not quite 5, sorry, just over 4 hours on the bike. I was alright here. I was alright for most of the way, but when I got a couple of miles from home, it was tough. Really, really tough going the last mile. Not the last mile, because that was downhill, but the last uphill mile. Very, very hard going. So I was pedaling as fast as I could here, and that's actually why I broke my records on this road. And 1%, it said. Any second now, the Strava route recorder may have turned off. I don't think I would have lost the route, but you don't want to run the risk of it. So I was going as fast as I could, and pulled up by, I think it's a little kind of council building. Anyway, there you go.